Hey, Scarfy here. Been seeing some gameplay footage of a Resident Evil 2 reboot, and so I decided to send in my own sense. That said, is the game scary? Short answer, yes. Long answer, not for the same reasons that the original was scary. Now, to describe my own interpretation of this, I'm gonna have to come up with a few phrases, which I'm not sure if there's already a phrase for this, so I'm just gonna describe this as horror of invading versus horror of invasion. Now, the original Resident Evils, I would describe more of the horror of invasion scenario, or horror of being invaded. I mean, when you think about it, the first game takes place in a house. Granted, a mansion, but a house. And all of the environments within that game is at least relatable to the extent of, hey, you've kind of been in this kind of room before, and it's actually the kind of room that's in your own house. Not to mention the game, believe it or not, was still scary despite some of its criticisms, and those criticisms have only really come out after Silent Hill has come out, and I'll get to Silent Hill in a sec. But the whole idea of the original Resident Evils is that you're supposed to be in a safe and secure place that is no longer safe and secure. Just imagine, you're all by yourself, you're home, your entire house is well lit, everything's all straightened up, it's all recognizable, you know where everything is. And then you hear a noise. A sound that you didn't make yourself. And it sounds suspiciously like someone or something is moving around in the house. You're all by yourself, but you're not alone. Yeah, that's Resident Evil. I mean, the environments don't look imposing at first, considering that they're all brightly lit and cleaned up throughout most of them. But they're designed that way for a reason. It's to make you feel safe and comfortable so that when the scary things do happen, it becomes that much scarier. And it's not just the whole jump scares and everything. In fact, there are a lot of moments where Resident Evil 1 was scary just by accident. For example, in order to save memory, the game actually removes the dead bodies after you kill them. And all that did was add to the paranoia of when you leave the room and all of a sudden you come back and you notice that the dead zombies are gone. What the fuck happened? Were they really dead? Did they just get up and move around? Are they still around now? And that just added to the atmosphere. And the music itself, well, creepy and eerie, it gets even more terrifying in its absence. Because when the music is absent, that's when you can hear things more clearly. You can hear footsteps more clearly. And that's when you start getting more and more paranoid. Generally, this just means that you're going to get another jump scare, but it's the anticipation of one that counts. Fast forward to the Resident Evil Remake, and I just couldn't get into it, mainly because the environment's all dark, it's all overly detailed and gritty, and it just feels like I've already been here before, too many times before. Now, part of it is really just the contrast. I mean, in order for things to become scary, you have to be dealing with things that are not scary. I mean, that's why there are safe rooms within the original Resident Evils. You could go into these rooms, you'll get calm-ish music, with a little hint that, okay, as if to tell you the horror is finally over, but you still feel kind of traumatized by it. And that worked pretty well. I mean, the safer these safe rooms feel, the more terrifying the actual terrifying environments feel. And not all of the original Resident Evil was just bright and colorful and well lit. There were some dark areas too. And then we go into Resident Evil 2. And that's where I could actually make some very clear comparisons. But before I get to the direct comparisons, let's go over what happened in Resident Evil 2. In fact, I'll mostly be going over the Resident Evil 2 demo because I kind of felt like that portion was more effective in the demo than it was in the actual game. Mainly because the liquor moment wasn't interrupted by a CGI cinematic that showed you every detail of the liquor. Whereas in the actual demo, you just see the thing just drop right in front of you and you don't know what the fuck that thing is, so you just run your ass out of there. For the original game, Resident Evil 1 for instance, let's just look at how it starts off. In that one, you investigate a house that's out in the middle of nowhere, so far into the forest that you can't possibly call for help. You're in the house, you can't leave because, well, it's dangerous outside.
Don't open that door!
And yet, there's something in that house with you. So, that was the paranoia of the first game. And it still carries over to the second game. For instance, where the running to safety was merely a cinematic in the first game, you would actually play that. I mean, if you were playing the demo, it doesn't even give you an opening cinematic like the full game does. It just tells you that this is where the real nightmare began, and it just drops you off right there in the middle of a city surrounded by zombies, and you're standing in front of a fire. It is like the apocalypse. In fact, there were probably more zombies in that first area than in any of the rooms in the first game. So ultimately, you are already running your ass off trying to find safety. And it makes a clear point right from the gun store that no place is truly safe. Once you make it to the police station, which is essentially the last bastion of sanctuary, you finally get a moment of respite when you go into the lobby area. Now this is where I notice the most glaring changes. The lobby is a lot darker in the remake than it is in the original, which confounds me because now there's no feeling of safety. It's not a well-lit room signifying that this place is secure and safe. But let's move on to that. Now, from what I remember, you eventually go into the next room, which is potentially a safe room. Again, safe music. Sort of ominous, and I love the safe music in these games. But still calming. In fact, even the music for the lobby kind of has an ominous theme to it. I mean, in a sense, it tells you that you're safe, but not everything is as it seems in that room. And I doubt they'll have that tune in the reboot because it's probably gonna mess up the dark atmosphere that they're going for in the reboot. And then we get to the foreshadowing moment. Now, I love the camera angles in the original games because sometimes it makes it look like you're being watched, and other times it makes it look like there's a camera pointing at you, like a security camera. So it feels even more immersive that way. But take a look at that window. Now, can you tell me what is the difference between the old version and the new version? Not just in depiction, or lighting, but in tone. As you could see in the original, you're in a room that's relatively safe. It's all well lit. Feels like there's nothing going to attack you in that room. And then just as you approach that window, you see something crawling across it, as if it's looking for a way to get in. And it moves so fast that you didn't even know what it was. That is the fear of being invaded. But in the reboot, everything's all dark. You have your flashlight out, and then you just see something crawling across a window, as if reacting to the light. Now that is the fear of invading. I mean, you're not seeing the thing trying to find a way in, you're seeing the thing react to your light. As if you came to it, it did not came to you. So now we're gonna go over the whole theme of horror of invading. Now, we got a big taste of that theme in Silent Hill when it came out, and that's why it got so popular. It was a different approach to horror than Resident Evil. Now, to explain this, let's go over how Silent Hill started off. You're moving away from your wreckage, and you're wandering around in this town. It's still daylight, but just to save on draw distance, everything's foggy, but the fog also has a level of atmosphere to it. Because there's such a low draw distance, because it's so foggy, you start feeling lost and confused, as if you don't know this area. I mean, in the original games, you could figure out the police station and the mansion real quick. But in Silent Hill, you're new to this town. You don't know exactly where everything is. Not only that, even the maps have a different tone to them. In Silent Hill, you actually have a paper map, and you actually see your character marking different portions as if he's exploring the map. And then you come down an alleyway, and things start getting darker. Actually, first, also take note that much of the buildings and much of the environments feel old and ruined, as if they've been abandoned, as if everything seems to be hiding from you. And then you go down an alley, and things start getting darker. And you start to see the environment slowly change. The soft flurried snow start to become more dour rain. The walls begin to look menacing. You start to hear noises in the background. And you start to wonder if those are creatures or just pieces of the environment wearing down. You see bloodstains everywhere. You see all sorts of telltale signs that this is not a safe environment. Even the light seems to have abandoned you at this point. Think about this. You're going down a place where even the light doesn't want to go. So already the environment is telling you to turn back. It doesn't want you there. And yet you press on forward, possibly bound by curiosity and determination, with only a dimly lit light source. Until you see an ominous discovery, and then the worst possible outcome of the scenario happens. You get ambushed by a swarm of monsters with no escape. That is the fear of invading. Just imagine, like, a Vietnam War movie where soldiers are being ordered to push further into the jungle, and they don't know what's out there. The enemy could be hiding in any kind of hidden spot. There could be traps, anything. Or better yet, imagine being a tunnel rat at the time, where you have to go through one of the holes that the opponent uses. It's all dark, it's all confined, you're heavily vulnerable, and yet you have to push in to flush out the enemy. That, my friends, is the fear of invading. You're going into a place that's completely alien to you. And you don't know what you're getting into.
Holy shit!
And it's even more emphasized by the fact that everything's dark and you have a flashlight, meaning that you can only see directly what's in front of you. I mean, the darkness itself is just part of the environment fighting against you. And the only way you manage to fight back and push on is with that flashlight. Unfortunately, this has suddenly turned into a trend among horror games as of late, where every horror game has to be in a dark, dingy environment where all you get is a flashlight. And as you could see in the Resident Evil 2 Reboot, they're doing exactly that. It's no longer the fear of being invaded, it's the fear of invading something. I mean, in the original Resident Evil, you were supposed to be safe within the police station. That's why you went to it in the first place. And then all of a sudden you're dismayed at the fact that parts of the police station have been taken over by zombies. There's even a section of the police station that has boarded up windows, where as you move across it, zombie arms start bursting out as if they're trying to get in. And later on in the game, they actually break through those boarded up windows and start flooding the place. They've taken over the station. But from the gameplay footage I've seen of the reboot, it looks more like you're the invader. I mean, the zombies have already taken over the station at this point. There's a whole lot of them in each of these rooms. And you're pushing further in, using your flashlight, through the darkness. So as far as the zombies are concerned, you're the invader, not them. And that's the whole idea of light and dark being used in horror games. Is that light is supposed to signify a mostly secure area that's becoming less secure, and darkness is supposed to signify an insecure area, a place taken over by the monsters. In many ways, flickering lights add to that effect. It makes you think that the place is getting taken over by darkness even as we speak. I mean, why do you think we're all afraid of flickering lights nowadays? In short, the Resident Evil Reboot does look like a legitimate horror game, but it's chasing after the trend that was started by Silent Hill. And for me, that's still kind of a problem. It's probably still going to be a good game. I mean, I might play it, but I do have some concerns. In fact, another concern of mine is that, unlike Silent Hill, it's not going to have any sort of contrast. I mean, the contrast in the original Silent Hill games was the town of Fog. Parts of that game took place in the daytime, when everything's all foggy and confusing. But not exactly entirely threatened, despite the random monsters. It's just not quite as horrifying as when the town gets dark. Or especially when you're in a building that goes into the other world, and now you're in a dark, confined, and hostile place, where the very next door could have a monster jumping out at you. It's those moments of reprieve that actually make the horrifying moments that much more horrifying. Now, some horror games can still pull off the horrifying factor without the contrast moments, like Fatal Frame, but I don't think that's going to work for Resident Evil 2 Reboot. Some of the updates I do kind of like. I mean, I do enjoy the fact that the Tyrant now has a hat to go with his trench coat. But then there are other parts, like the Claire Redfield's face. It kind of reminds me a little too much of Until Dawn, which also reminds me, is it me, or are horror games now going more towards the dark blue tint route in terms of color schemes? as in, like, everything's lit by moonlight. I mean, am I playing a different game from Until Dawn, or is this going to be like the same game? I mean, another point to the originals is that because they have brightly lit rooms in some sections, they're all colorful, so I don't know, maybe it's just me. What else can I say about it? But all in all, I don't think the fear of being invaded is ever gonna go away, since I am seeing tinges of its own survival in certain horror games I've seen on Steam. Darkwood being one of them. In fact, I especially recommend Darkwood if you haven't played it yet. I mean, it highlights the fear of being invaded quite well every time the game goes into the nighttime cycle. Because you board up your windows, you turn on all your lights, using your generator and everything, and then you try to wait out the nightfall while you're hearing creatures running around outside, busting down your doors. It's a blast. In a sense, I kind of hope that other games still follow the fear of being invaded path. But we'll see. If anything, I just hope we find another way to scare people than turning the fucking lights off. God damn it. Oh well. This is Scarfy, signing off.